of the owners, advertisers, and management company of Sugar City FM 90.3. Nor are such statements necessarily supported or endorsed by the owners, managers, or advertisers of the station. While we encourage all to share their opinions, we do not support any comments that may slander, discriminate, or otherwise offend anyone, and we insist that you refrain from any such statements.
Fellow citizens, near and far, join Newri8sh Nital on Sugar City 90.3 for Fear No Favor.
Where is man? Where is the cancer man? No runner come out for war.
Tune in to 90.3 on your FM dial. Log on to sugarcityfmsankits.com or download Simple Radio app from the Google Play Store. And join Newri8sh Nital every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. as Newri8sh Nital tackles the issues and take your call. Fear No Favor. Every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. on Sugar City 90.3 FM. Fellow citizens, near and far, join Newri8sh Nital on Sugar City 90.3 for Fear No Favor.
Where is man? Where is the cancer man? No runner come out for war.
Tune in to 90.3 on your FM dial. Log on to sugarcityfmsankits.com or download Simple Radio app from the Google Play Store. And join Newri8sh Nital every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. as Newri8sh Nital tackles the issues and take your call. Fear No Favor. Every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. on Sugar City 90.3 FM.
Good evening and welcome to Fear No Favor. We're going to be discussing a few issues this evening, and of course you can call 466-0903 and be a part of our conversations. We know that there are many things happening from a socio-economic perspective, and there's also a little injection from the political environment. One thing I want to look at first is the school system, the exams, results. We used to be consistently getting reports of the performances by our students in school and out of school, but more so the performances of our schools. Quite a number of years we have not gotten such. So you're only hearing bits and pieces from persons who might have gotten it from a source that they were actually close to. But one thing that is a bit bothersome though is that I want to look at the mathematics results. And It is just a bit awkward for me to accept. Usually, the math exam would have three main papers: the multiple choice paper, the SBA or school based assessment paper, and if you do not do that, there's a paper three. The paper three would be the SBA or the you go in the exam and sit your paper three, either SBA or you go and sit a paper three. And then you had the multiple choice, the SBA, paper three, and paper two. Now, if as a result of some major leak in Jamaica, the paper two was cancelled. In other words, they would not have counted the paper two. And that is really your main paper. When you tell somebody that you pass mathematics, you're saying that you really champion the cause with paper two. Now, if that was not included, CXC multiple choices, they recycle a lot of them. If you do 60 questions, or for the past 3, 4, 5 years, at least 50 to 55 of them would come back. So therefore, most persons had the opportunity to get a decent grade because paper one, the multiple choices, a lot of them, they are recycled. And once you put in the work, you'd have come across so many repeating questions. And then you had the SBA, school-based assessment. Those of us who understand school-based assessment, I don't really much it up, to be honest. I prefer students to go inside the exam room and work for their marks, do the alternative to SBAs. But I guess the exams then were designed to ensure that persons did well. Because with the SBAs, and it is not a level playing field with respect to the SBAs, some schools allow their teachers to give you back your work after looking over it and suggesting some adjustments, give you back twice. Other schools allow them to give you back 10, 12, 20 times. So most naturally, persons would be getting very high marks for the school's SBA. And plus, at times you don't even know who did the SBA. A student could get 100% for an SBA and doesn't have a clue what was done on that SBA. That is to the extent that I don't really appreciate SBAs. I prefer you go in the exam room and you work for your marks. Chemistry, SBA, physics, biology. At one time, you used to have to do our practical exam. You go to the lab and you conduct yourself and get your material, your apparatus, follow your sequences, and you do your practical exam. Now I think you have to do about 23 exams and maybe they'll count 20 or some of it, and it will go towards your mark. I know persons who would have done every single SBA for some persons, but yet they get 100%, which is okay. If the system has a hernia in it or loopholes, people would utilize that. Now, if you get close to 100% in your SBA, and that is an average, above average, a lot of people get 100% for the SBAs. And the multiple choices repeated themselves. So you ought to have gotten an A or A plus in both papers. How can we have students not getting distinctions overall. Something has to be wrong. But we have to ask our questions. Who are the persons responsible for carrying out these queries? Because it just doesn't make sense. Two papers on which persons normally will get A or A pluses. And hardly anybody would have gotten ones in the math exam from last May-June. It doesn't add up. Somebody has to initiate an investigation and let them bring an explanation as to what basically happened. Can make sense? A in this paper, A in that. And you cannot get a distinction, you cannot get a 1. You had persons getting 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6. How can you ever, under those given circumstances, get 4, 5, and 6 in that sort of stuff there? Something is not right. Those persons, of course, they could be considered outliers. Maybe they never used to attend classes. Maybe they were rather delinquent in being regular. You could understand those outliers. But you have persons who go into school and push out. And some people out of school put out their best effort. And we couldn't bring in several ones. How could somebody get a 5, a 4, a 6? That is really unbelievable. And the situation has many persons confused. And I believe that the appropriate protocol should be followed and the grade should be queried with CXC. The dots are not dotting to anything of logic, and it needs to be investigated. Talking about exams, I think I saw a notice indicating that persons who are willing to do exams in January, registration would open on the 2nd of October. Now, there is normally an issue. People must not pay for their exams just because they have monies to pay for it, or they're willing to make whatever sacrifice and get monies to pay for the exams. You must be disciplined. It is okay to be ambitious, but you have to match it with the energy. You have to have the discipline. And the reason why so many persons register to do exams in January, but yet a high percentage would not show up. They're not disciplined. They have all kind of things happening in December, leading up to December. Already you're hearing about Carnival. Independence celebration and even finish yet. You're hearing about Carnival. You're hearing about another Village Arama festival. You know, our calendars, they have on a lot of action. Some people cannot miss out on any action. And that is bad. You have a year to study for your exams. Those in school would have started the syllabus in third form, say a third form, fourth form, fifth form. But those out of school, they want to start the preparation for the CXC exam in September. And do not prepare themselves properly. Because if we look at September, September is almost a wasted month for school especially. So many planning, so many things happening in September. So we could call it a month that is not on the calendar with respect to academics. We have our independence celebration now going over into October. Okay. And now you have Villagerama being revived. Carnival material and information is out there. So those of you who really interested in doing exam from September to May-June, that's only about 8 months. Not taking into consideration the several holidays that we have. So you cannot afford to miss out on any action within those 8 months and get yourself ready for exam. That is why they usually say a moment's pleasure could lead to a lifetime of suffering. Because some persons do it year after year after year after year. Then it depends on the company you have. Some company, they are not academically inclined, they couldn't care less, they're rather indifferent about persons who are trying to build their academics. And they do not encourage them to put in the hard work. Everybody would like to achieve academically, but they're not matching the energy that is necessary to succeed. We have to come better than that. And some of the parents, guardians, some of them don't have a clue about our school system. Some of them don't have a clue about understanding how to prepare for exam. So everything happening, they're pulling the poor students to be a part of. They never call them and say, let me see how much work you have on your syllabus. Let me see how much work you have in your notebook. Let us see what is the percentage that you have covered. None of that. Social media, that is the comfort zone. They put the children in things so that they can put up stuff on social media. Brag about the activities of their children. Send copies to family and friends. But no way you can find any consideration for the length of time that was taken away from the children's preparation. Only when the results come back and they're not happy with the results, they're asking what happened. And very, very wisely the students them should say, you should ask yourself that. You pulled me away from my preparation. You wanted me to be here, there, and everywhere you pan-knock, you wanted me to go. Every party there was, you wanted me to go. Any social event, you wanted us to go. Because you want pictures to post up. Because you get a high from that. And then unfortunately, when persons are competing for jobs and acceptance into CFBC or scholarships, your children just do not show up on the radar. And then you go to politicians, they try to go to CFBC, get the authorities them to lower the standard because this is your child or this is the child of one of your supporters, and it is necessary that they put on the blue and white so they can post up the pictures and they could feel proud like everybody else. Some of them don't even have English and maths, which is a prerequisite. But now I understand that you can spend, it used to be a 2 year college. Some persons might have to spend 3, 4, even 5 years to get the one's 2 year output. We have to think outside of the box. We have to prepare our children for, support them for the preparation. Support them. They have to construct a schedule. Nobody said they'll be in books all day, all night, all weekend. Schedule the major activities. Make sure they have adequate time to do their studies. You categorize your subjects from the strongest to the weakest, or weakest to the strongest. You put more time, you dedicate more time to the weaker subjects. So if you're doing 7 subjects and you're really strong in 4 of them, you just don't study those 4. Okay, you might pass 4, you might get 4 twos, I might get 3 twos and a 3, and then the other 3 you fail because you simply put time only in those 4. Now, if you spread your time to take care of your weaker subjects, you could end up getting a 3 there, 2 there, another 2. You know, so you end up with 7 subjects instead of 4 or 3. Parents and guardians would have to become more aware, more informed as to what is really going on at school. We have to. Somebody would come to register a child for class. Which school the child attends, they don't know. But the child lives with the mother. All of us live together. You don't even know the uniforms of the schools. All you know is that the child is in school. Okay, let us assume you now know the uniform. Because Washi, Bassi, High Child, Sandy Point, Sadlers, Convent, they got this distinct uniform that they wear. So you'll be able to tell. But what class, what form is the child in? Okay, you might know. 3rd form, 4th form. What class is the child in? That is where the problem starts. Because if the child is in a 1, you could see that there is effort being given out already, being put in. But if the child is in a 5 or 6, you must indicate to the person what child the class is, what class the child is in, so that the person who is trying to impart knowledge would know what challenges they would meet up and what various techniques they might have to employ to best impart the knowledge to that child. People learn at different rates. Some people learn at a late stage in their lives. Some people are late bloomers. But everybody has the ability to learn. But there is that unique package that you have to put together that will be conducive for the preparation and then the eventual execution and results, favorable results. So pay attention. And we go back to the January exam. Do not register for any January exam if you know you cannot find the time to put in. January exam, you have October, November, December, just 3 more months to go. 3 more months. So why would you want to register for January exam when you are not going to concentrate those 90 days into your studies? You find every reason to dilute the time that you have. I think they need to have meetings with respect to those stuff. And teachers must not just put in, and I'm talking about people who are teaching out of school, Just don't put in students to do exams because you want to put them in. And that is why I believe, if students were not doing SBAs, we would have ended up with better students. Because people would have been forced to learn more, put in more hours. Imagine you go in a chemistry lab to do your own practical, not SBA. You have to do your acid-base titration. You have to do your qualitative analysis, your quantitative analysis, identify some cations, some anions, make your remarks, take your deductions, put down your observations, do your calculations. You must come out a better chemistry student rather than handing up SBAs and we don't even have a clue. If you understand the SBAs that you just got 100% from. We have to do what we have to do. I attended a funeral in Keyon today. The funeral of Marian Williams, the mother of Desiree Williams, the tailor for the police force at the training complex, Marvet, Rallon, Beverly, Cora, that family from Spooners. I made a few calls and I asked persons from within the environs of Keyon whether or not they were attending. And you had persons, mine there was a great turnout, excellent turnout. But you had persons who indicated that they were not going, even though they wanted to go. Why? No water there. That sounded a bit awkward. No water there. And I'm saying this to say, as a follow-up, I managed Spooners and Hermitage Estate way back. And I cannot even remember water coming from the tap in the estate house. There was a water tank parked up in my yard every single night. And then they would come for it in the morning, take it back to the field. Now, you can see how long ago Keyon people having problems with water. You dip up, they can dip up champions. But it is very frustrating for some people. And I'm saying this because you had administration after administration who had golden opportunities to sort out the Keyon water problem. But somehow, it is always the current administration that would have to bear the brunt of the pressure with respect to getting water in the pipes of the people in Keyon. And then you hear something went bad in the well or the pumping area in Atlas that is responsible for the distribution of water in Keyon. So about after 12 yesterday, my son called me, told me, Daddy, school is over because there is no water. I went for him. This was after 12. And then, this morning when I went for him, he told me that there was no school because the water problem existing still. Then I read a notice indicating that the water should be back by 5 a.m. on Friday. Now, I think that some priority is being given to the water situation in Keon. Island wide, we don't have much. But I do think that that problem ought not to have been so deep, because it is my understanding that when capital project was to take place with respect to the water, you had persons who wanted some friends or associates to get the contract to sort out the water system that we have. And as a result, a lot of things had to be put off, a lot of mamagaying had to take place, and the end result is that Keon is still suffering from water issues. Maybe if the maturity was there and the prioritization of the Keon people would have taken place years ago, the water situation would not have been as it is right now. Yes, barring the lack of rain and whatever else. I am saying that instead of having to dig wells or like now, we could have been more advanced in the desalination plant with respect to assisting that stretch of land and population around there. We could have gone further. Every time you have these capital projects, there seem to always be some competition, this bidding competition. And even when a bid is obviously the best one you have, some sort of insider trading, insider information would be shared to bidders. So somebody always comes up better than who went first or who went second, who went third. Sharing of information, causing the system to be unfair. And people must speculate as to why this information would be shared with bidders or specific bidder. People have to speculate. And you cannot blame people. Maybe there's some sort of kickback. Maybe something under the table. Maybe a table is so small, the kind of monies we're hearing with these capital projects. Maybe something under a roof. But what we are saying is that if the playing field is level and you have a person after all the criteria would have been considered and it is deserving of that person and his company or whoever his associates are to carry out the project, just give them. Because a lot of animosity would develop. I wanted John, he wanted Peter, he wanted Sam. Look at the difference. Sam, just make some adjustments there and we can give it to you. And then they might reach a decision, okay, then we're going to give it to Sam. Even though it was unfairly done, Sam gets it. And then what happens later on? When there's another capital project and you have bids that are way off, Mr. X, Y, and Z going to remind you. Remember I scratched your back the other day? You got to scratch me back for me now. So even though that bid might be the worst possible bid that you can have, worst possible, in several ways, It can be that the bid is very high, and you have those who that are many percentage points below, but somebody got to scratch back somebody's back. We can't afford that. You have some people who don't give some real outrageous bids. Something supposed to be 10,000, for example, and you have one or two, 10,000, 9,500, 8,000. Then all of a sudden you get an outlier. Somebody brings you in a bid for 3,500 because they got some information from inside and they made the adjustments. And then what happened? They realized that the monies that are given for that capital project was simply not enough. So you got cost overrun. They want another 200,000. That's going to be 5,500. And even that, they want another $4,000. So he went from 3,500 and he got up and up and up till he even reached over the 10,000. Because you not only have cost overrun, but you also having time overrun. Because sometimes you have to shut down a part of a capital project to have it reopened up so that work could continue. That itself could be more costly. We are saying that we have to pay particular attention to our capital projects. We have to make sure that things are done fairly, and this would cut out some of the time that is wasted. Time that is wasted. Because it is my understanding, had we gone with certain contractors before, the water situation would have been more advanced. But if somebody who are part of the process feel like they wanted another person, another company to get it, for whatever reason, could be the company is very great at doing what they have to do, or there might be better associates. So when you over invoice, the differential will go to you in some way, shape or form. Man, we're fed up at that. We are mature people. We're dealing with limited resources. Let us get it right. Let us get it right. And I think that we would advance at a faster rate. If a contractor is a big PAM and he could do quality work at a highly reasonable price and is deserving of the project from amongst some big labor, where the quality might not be as good, where the capacity might not be parallel, and they just cannot win it. Just give it to the PAM contractor. Likewise, if you have 3 capital projects and all labor contractors put in quality bids, and you're going to get quality output with a great respect for time, and the labor people win all 3, just let them do it. But we have a cultural practice that is stagnating like a noose around our necks when we have to make decisions with respect to capital projects. We have the capacity. Sometimes we have to get people from overseas. But the funny thing is that sometimes we have people from overseas and they seem as if they live here. Every project, they're at the nucleus of them. Every single project. Why that has to be? If you're doing things properly, sometimes just from a perception alone would say to you, you just don't do a major project where you got millions. And even though we're certain that you can do justice to this other project that is coming up, we prefer not to engage you. We don't like the stench of it. And it's all about perception. Get somebody else. If those persons have a monopoly on providing the services and those goods, then you may not have a choice. But come and explain to people. We have some people here like they were born here, like they don't intend to go anywhere. How could one company be here for this protracted period of time? What can they do better than others? And sometimes, sometimes it's the asset, the apparatus. What would it take to rent these and give the jobs to locals? But public works should be ashamed of themselves sometimes too. You're working along with some engineers or contractors from overseas. You don't work with them for years. And then they're still getting a contract to do something that you would have worked with them for that length of time for. So you have not learned anything. You have not learned anything. You see, some of us like to carry around the label of being an engineer. And we feel high and mighty. But what do you use carrying that title? And you cannot get a group of men and handle that project. Keep money in local circulation. Every time you bring in outsiders for major capital projects, money going into their pockets. They're not sleeping and walking up and down with money in their pockets. The money is placed on their account to go home. So that means that going out of local circulation. Somebody might say, well, they're here, they're going to go to a shop to buy bread and rice and Vitamalt. Or they might even go to one of the restaurants to eat some lunch, eat some dinner. And that is minimal when come to what they would eventually take out of the country. You have to use our people. And I'm not talking about people who are not from here and have the wife and children. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about an entire company who knew absolutely nobody else but the person with whom they are in contact for whatever reason. We have to put down some strong stipulations. Strong stipulations. If you have a workforce of 100 men, at least 85% must be locals. And 5% out of the top 10 should be locals. You're looking for transference of capacity. We have to start doing these things. We got to make a concerted effort to keep monies in local circulation. And talking about importing for these capital projects. Carnival itself now seems like a capital project. When we used to make our own costumes, we used to try our best. And they used to look magnificent. All of a sudden, somebody or a group of persons go down to Trinidad and they look at what's going on and they develop friendships, associations, and eventually you have some economics start to take place. We can get our material out of Trinidad, Brazil, wherever. And then they come in with a hefty price. Because if you sell something for $3, somebody might get 25 cents out of it. Because the other 275 got to go out. So they had to up the price, up the price, up the price. So that the persons who make in contact with these people, they can get something substantial. And for them to get something substantial, the primary source owners would have to get something much greater. And then we realize the more skimpy Trinidad Carnival becomes, we just following. The more skimpy our local carnival gets. All because maybe a group of people in association decide that it is now a business. It is no more an expression of our heritage. It has fast become a business where profits would have to be made. And it is just not about profits being made, where people get into the act of profiteering. When you hear a costume, to really outfit yourself with a costume, people have to go to the banks to get loans to outfit themselves for carnival. Since when? Since when? That is rather unfortunate. I don't know from since when we start embracing the skimpiness. But it is coming, bothering and being not nice. Let me use that. Let me use a euphemism. Bothering and being not nice. And I really don't know who female would be in the right frame of mind and feel comfortable knowing that they have family members and children who do not agree with a style of dressing. And I believe that we are just an iota, just a away from parading naked. Yeah, we just away from parading naked. I give us about 2 more carnivals. And then they just do the body painting. Absolutely no clothes on, just body painting. Where's the Christian Council? Where's the Evangelic Association? But most of all, where are our morals? Because what is happening, after carnival is over, you still have people who would want to be in public spaces, just in the same skimpy way. Absolutely no regards for how the family members would feel. I mean, what's the difference? Who you trying to impress? Definitely if you go with your partner would feel the same vibes if you are properly clothed and they were dancing with you. Go on how you want. Because the funny thing about it is that you go to these places and your attire is the most skimpy. And then some person, some male will start to look at you. And if 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 of them look at you, one of them might just get lucky. And even though they're pretending to truly appreciate your attire, nothing tall go so. They're basically seeing you as an easy catch. Easy catch. So when you try to develop a relationship now with them, the same people running feeding you with a long spoon, keeping far from you. You got to understand that nobody who captures you with that type of outfit would really stay any length of time with you after that captivity. Cannot happen. And then you want to walk out. Why? We have to start thinking. Start to think. There are some guys who get attracted to you. And from the time you have a relationship with them, you dare not step back out the house in a pants pass above your knee. Not even a centimeter above your knee. Those are things that happens. But I'm saying that our carnival seem to evolving on a trajectory to nakedness. When would we get a circuit breaker? When would we? And some people would have to understand it's not every male appreciates the attire. But somehow we feel so. Some females just don't care. They're stoic. They don't care what nobody says. And the problem with this also is that when people go out to party, it is fast becoming the norm that is just rum and smoke. Rum and smoke. We can't become a country like that. We should not become a country like that. So many things can happen when persons are not in full control of their faculties. So many things. And don't forget that they have the chemicals that they can use to entice you to do things that you would not have normally done. Well, that there plus rum and those two plus smoke, you're out to be smoked with no memory of what would have taken place with you. We have to be careful. We have to think. We have to think. You're female and you're going out, buy your own drink. Some people don't care. They don't know how they're going to get there. They don't know how they're going to get back. All they know is that they're wearing some skimpy clothing and somebody must retrofit to do whatever work they want them to do. You can't leave your home and you don't know how you're going to get back home. And next thing you beg a ride with a drunkard. Then there's an accident. And if you're going somewhere as females so you can get a driver, then every female must drink. You get a driver that could alternate driving. You stay sober and you're responsible for getting us back home. So therefore, when you reach the function, you drink your Vitamalt, your Guinness. I wouldn't even suggest a small glass of wine because that is the sacrifice you have to make to get your friends and back home safely. And then the next time around, one of the other associates would play that role. We cannot afford for a group of persons to go out and everybody drinking alcohol or smoking a spliff. The advocate for marijuana would be marijuana never cause anybody to get in trouble. But I know we are each different from a physiological perspective. And nobody could tell you how you're going to feel after you smoke one spliff or how you're going to feel after being in an environment where everybody was smoking. You can take your luck and have it transposed to me. Your luck might not be my luck. Your luck might not be my luck. We have to be more responsible. And I realize that we now have action and that's good for the DJs. We were locked down for a while. But when would we get that COVID issue completely diluted into insignificance? Can I always put it on COVID and now we used to go anytime this way, this place, this year? Okay, now it's come, it's finished. But now we have activities from January 1st to December 31st. What are we going to do? Go to everything? We can't go to everything, man. We cannot go to everything. So we give up on life. Or we have no assurance that tomorrow will be. But if we ain't sure how tomorrow will be and we feel like we might just live and max out our lives, because there will be no tomorrow. We could walk in front of a bus, a truck, a tractor. Because as far as your perception is, there will be no tomorrow. But we are not doing that. So obviously we are planning for the days ahead, and the weeks ahead, and the months ahead, and the years ahead. We can do much better than this. You cannot tell people what sort of taste to have, but at least you could whisper something in their ears and offer them some guidance. Offer them some guidance. Because we would have heard that the Prime Minister or compassionate Prime Minister indicated that as part of the reset, they were going to give $1,000 for persons who are actively paying the Social Security and who would have made contributions 26 or more. You know, the amazing thing about that is this. Somebody could have made 26 contributions. And has not worked since for 260 contributions. And then came out in recent times to put in some work to make a few more contributions. So that period of stagnation, no contribution, that's a horizontal line with respect to non-contribution. And that is why we need to, yes, the PM trying to help. But sometimes you have to define certain things. What do you mean by actively paying Social Security? You could have started just 3 days, a week before the decision was made. So you would have already paid 1 week. That's one contribution. And it's going to add to the contribution that you made between 2019 and 2023. But you're in job stroke. You have about 52 weeks in a year. So easily you could have made 26 contributions in 1 year. None for 2020, none for 2021, none for 2022. And you come out and you put in a feeble one in 2023. So then you are labeled as active. And then you get the $1,000. You know, something like this might be around the corner again. So you try to establish a pattern. Some people would be doing some calculations to make sure that whatever they are doing will coincide with something that would happen. June, the CBI investment, a possible independence reset again in, even though is not 40 years, but 41. Something would be happening. Then you have something else in December, every 6 months, CBI. But some people would have to be mindful that it is not mandatory that the CBI dividends are distributed. If and only if, in mathematics you say IFF, if and only if the way is clear with respect to resources, then the CBI program, the CBI dividend would be paid. You might not have sufficient to pay out the 250 and the 500 according to the number of contributions. You might look at the cash flow and decide that we had quite a bit going out than comparatively what came in. Because we have been subsidizing quite a lot of stuff. So some persons must not see it as a fixture that every June and December you'll get a portion of the CBI dividend. We have to be realistic. We have to be realistic. Taxes run the country, plus whatever foreign investments. Yes, it is nice to help. Very nice to help. Salaries would not have moved much in quite a long time. There are persons who might be asking for incremental increase. You know, by the way, even though you don't give a general increase, usually persons are due increments. And I think that was stopped. That was stopped. For whatever reason. Persons haven't gotten increment for 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. Those are persons who we need to look after. And I believe when government is given a double salary, it is double because it is yours, If you work out the number, how we get paid, and work out the days that we were not paid for, then a month is always lagging behind for government workers, people who get paid by the month. Better go on to the weeks now. So it might become a little clearer. Every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. That's 28 days. And if you add up on average, say 3 days, you multiply 3 days by 10, because you get paid from the 1st to the 14th. Then after the 14th, you get paid the 28th. So barring the February, January, we have 3 days that are not paid for. We don't say February is taken care of. Unless you have a leap year, you have 1 day. So that's 4 days if it's a leap year. March is 31, so you have another 3. April, that's what, 30. That's 2. June, you have 30. So that's another 2 days. July, 31, that's another 3 days. August, 31, that's another 3 days. And you go right down. September, 2 days. December, 3 days. And when you multiply them, you have an average about, say, 9 to 10 days. An average, you have just under 30 days when you multiply them. But that's a whole month. Even if you come up to just 28, that is a month. That is a month's salary that was not paid to monthly paid workers. Or even to the bi-weekly, every 2 weeks. You'll have those days that are not paid for. Because you pay up to the 28th. Those that come after, they're not taken into consideration. Then you start back 1st to the 14th and the 14th to the 28th. So even before that, you had a whole month. So some smart politician would have told you that they're paying you double. They're not telling you that they're giving you the month's pay that they did not pay you for the year. So we have to start being a little more vigilant, discerning, and see that what is given to us was really due to us. But again, they don't have to comb that thing with a fine-tooth comb. They could have just left it how it is. They could leave it how it is. They could double up on you. And I could tell you plain out, a lot of persons will be looking out for a double salary in December. So here we go again. Lots of persons. But we have to be mindful that it is the low end of the spectrum that we have to, but anyway, that we have to be looking out for. What about the minimum wage? When will that come into being? Would it be retroactive or would it take effect from maybe the first week in October? Would it be retroactive or would it be given without any retroactive adjustment? We have to match the energy. The PM spoke about productivity. You must also be productive. Productivity would lead to an increase in the output of services and goods. And with that, I mean that your gross domestic product would go up. your gross domestic product would go up. Then the debt to GDP ratio would improve. How able are we to manage our debts? That is key. That is where the debt to GDP ratio would come in. I mean, you read a release there from Social Security, and we're seeing the state of Newri8sh Island administration with respect to the indebtedness to Social Security. Now, if we are one federation, somebody would have to rescue the NIA. Then we have to be thinking like that. You might say, okay, go to National Bank, get a loan, and the federal government will be your guarantor. Or you could say, I don't know if Social Security has the flexibility of writing off things as bad debt and giving people a fresh start. Maybe that is one of the resets that Social Security could have offered to the NIA. But that would have to be taken care of. That would have to be taken care of. But we cannot exploit the resources of Social Security. And that is why I was happy when the Prime Minister indicated that was profit generated from the CBI program that was going to be used to do the $1,000 reset. And the laws of the Social Security provide them or afford them the flexibility to invest the resources, the monies that we have pooled together there. But those investments must be productive, make sense, and do not cause us to lose precious money. We have to understand that. So whenever a decision is to be made with respect to investment of taxpayers' funds, it should call for an in-depth discussion. In other words, we must not go into it unless we're certain going into it we can get back the interest and other benefits. We got to start safeguarding our Social Security. It has come to the rescue of quite a number of institutions, maybe more than what we were ever told. But we need to provide Social Security with some good oxygen. Remember when monies are paid out, they just don't be paid out like that. Quite a fraction, a sizable fraction, would come back to the government because you spend money. The taxes that the businesses would have to pay would increase, so that would come back. You have maybe more people could be employed. You have salaries could go up with the private sector. That means 5%, the various percentages would go up in quantum. So the country gets back. It's not money just taken and throwing down in a rabbit hole. The money is taken out to do work and then come back. It is interesting, because I can remember some discussions where I think the Premier of Newri8sh would have indicated, or it was being said that when the federal government gives Newri8sh money, there must be accountability. Some people argued, no, you give us our share and we do what we want to do with it. It cannot be like that. Because you get your share and you squander it. And then you run up debts. Or you did not service existing debts. And then the pressure starts to come down. Then you have problems paying civil servants. The pressure would come back at the nucleus. So at least, might not be mandatory, but I think it is only decent for a brief outline as to how the monies were spent to be shared with the appropriate department. Because we cannot keep on saying that it's our money, we spend it how we want. Can't be like that. The spending of money, taxpayers' money, with no accountability, is a recipe for disaster. Some of us egos might be dented, bruised, because we are asked to do something that we don't feel is normal or should be normalized. But if you want things to be done in good faith, you have to come and provide that foundation for things to be done in good faith on a continuous basis, not when you feel it is necessary. We have to be mindful that it's a total package. I think something can be done. I listened to the premier meeting, monthly meeting, and he did admit that at times there could be challenges to keep up with their obligation, financial obligations. And whenever that happens, they will contact the creditors and let them know what the situation is. Sometimes it's not that you owe people and you're not paying them, There's another part to it. You're not contacting them to give them an explanation as to why you may default on your payment. Like some people, you don't want to run up and down and hide. Sometimes you just take a little explanation. Just a little explanation. Let us take a break.
Fellow citizens, near and far, join Newri8sh Nital on Sugar City 90.3 for Fear No Favor.
Where is man? Where is the cancer man? No runner come out for war.
Tune in to 90.3 on your FM dial. Log on to SugarCityFMSaintKitts.com or download Simple Radio app from the Google Play Store. And join Newri8sh Nital every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. as Newri8sh Nital tackles the issues and take your call.
Cannibal come make give you a chance to ready from now. Look what you do.
Fear nor favor. Every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. on Sugar City 90.3 FM. Fellow citizens, near and far, join Newri8sh Nital on Sugar City 90.3 for Fear Nor Favor.
Where is man? Where is the cancer? Pandora come out for war.
Tune in to 90.3 on your FM dial. Log on to SugarCityFMSaintKitts.com or download Simple Radio app from the Google Play Store. And join Newri8sh Nital every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. as Newri8sh Nital tackles the issues and take your call.
Welcome back to Fear Nor Favor. Now, if we are in social media, you would have seen some information regarding where people speculating because those who are supposed to inform us, they have not done that officially. But maybe some persons who were closer than we are, they were made privy to what took place at the United Nations. Well, if something took place and you're going to speculate, sometimes it is better for us to wait. Sometimes it is better for us to wait and get the story from three sides. And, of course, it seems as though something actually did happen, which might not have been the most favorable for our federation. Actions would be taken. We don't know what the outcome may be. Some people may speculate, they might offer suggestions. And as such, we have to be patient. Let those who are informed come to the table and present the witness statements. And then, armed with those witness statements, you can deduce logically, you can choose to explicate the combined information and draw your inferences. All of us would be skewed in some direction that we preferably might want. But however, let us use an objective lens and get the facts together and see what sort of suggestions, positive suggestions, that can be offered. They have the appropriate persons with whom you might be able to offer suggestions. Be objective. Because it is not every place where you had a disruption, something that was done at the displeasure of many persons, should really mean that an end should be put to it. A lot of us would have had our dark moments. And sometimes emotions take the better of us. Specifically, at those sensitive dark moments. Given a chance to internalize what took place in a more relaxed environment. The apologies might be coming. The apologies might be accepted. And a way forward would be suggested. Of course, maybe with some adjustments. And once that equilibrium would have been reached, our nation can return to normalcy. To the pleasure of the entire Federation. I don't see it necessary unless there's a period of time during which you'll have to present an interim representative. If there's a need to fill that prescribed period of time with respect to having an interim representative, you can go ahead and do that. But there must have been some reasons in the beginning why an individual would have been appointed to that post in the first place. And I'm simply saying that a single occasion that though some embarrassment might have been brought forth, just cannot be diluted into insignificance. The original consideration. We have to be very careful, for a lot of things happen to a lot of us. And the Bible says 70 times 7. 70 times 7 is about 490. And not that it really meant 490. Could have been exaggeration for emphasis, telling you that you must amply provide forgiveness and second opportunities to those who might have faltered. So let us be a little bit more careful. Let us be a little bit more patient. Let us be a little bit more tolerant. Let us be willing to forgive. Because a lot of us know, even in some marriages, that something major that happened and could have seen the end of that marriage was not beyond reconciliation. Those differences were reconciled, and thereafter, that post-event aspect of that marriage was many folds better than the pre-event comfort, benefits, gratification, utility that would have been derived before the event or incident. Just let us be more understanding. Let us remember the very reason that person was selected to that very high office. A lot of us, we are educated, but sometimes our coping skills begs or beg to be improved or structured in a more fortified way. Sometimes we have never been subjected to the onslaught that might have caused us to react that way. there might never ever be a repeat. So there is no need for any permanent changes. You have something called transference and counter-transference. Everything must be taken into consideration before we call for the head of somebody. We watched CNN in recent times, and we saw where a black man was in prison for I think 50 something years, and he was exonerated through DNA evidence. Then just recently, this week, we saw where another black man was incarcerated for 30 years and once again was exonerated. What that is saying to us, sometimes the technology is not there, sometimes the information is not there, sometimes the information was not forthcoming. Sometimes persons might not have gotten a good enough, cooling off period. And as a result of that, they're not thinking clearly. They're not thinking clearly. How much time is sufficient time to put this gray area into distinct shades of black and white so that a total clear story can be given by both sides. And I believe that there was some agreement in putting the person there in the first place. So some qualities, some characteristics, some features, some potential, some capacity ought to have been in that mix to facilitate the green light for that individual to have gone. Well, one event cannot destroy all that. Was it a nuclear bomb? Even nuclear energy could be harnessed to provide well-needed electrical energy. So even if we had information that the energies were of nuclear proportion, they can be harnessed. In other words, a very good lesson can be learned. We know a chemical reaction would only involve the electrons, and it's when you have to go into the nucleus where the protons and the nucleons are, then that is what is described as a nuclear reaction. We know about nuclear reaction. You have one atom producing three more, and then you have each of the three producing three more. So you have that exponential growth in the production of energy. That nuclear reaction can be extremely disastrous, as several events around the world would have indicated to us. However, many times we are not told that if those nuclear reactions can be controlled, then we can reap a big harvest. It is like fire, a good servant, but a nasty master. Water as well. Very good servant, nasty master. So let us sort of take a time out. Give the requisite cooling off period. Have your consultations. Level the playing field at the consultation. and see what is revealed. We have to be careful that we just do not destroy an individual or individuals because of the haste with which we looked into a situation. There are times when we are prompted to use unguided words. We utter unguided words only to reflect on what was said and realize that we could have either ignored the situation or utilized euphemism, which would carry the same weight but might not be as culturally penetrative as we would want. So we have to choose our ways. They say diplomacy is the art of telling somebody go to hell in such a way that they look forward to that trip. That is diplomacy. Somebody could tell you the worst of thing in the best of way and effectuate whatever results they intended. Somebody could have told you the best of thing in the worst of way and prevent any propagation from taking place, no further indulgence. So we, as a people, we have come from far. We have been subjected to many things. A lot of us do. A lot of us would have been subjected to things that we did not like. And the kind of energy we have to use to prevent us from taking revenge sometimes could be a burden on us. But at the end of the day, we say we're going to leave them to the foot of the cross. There are many things we would like to revenge. All of us. Even pastors, leaders. And the richest amongst us. It is not only the poor who will always have something to revenge. But wisdom would suggest that certain things are better left as are. Let us take a break and come back.
Fellow citizens, near and far, join Newri8sh Nital on Sugar City 90.3 for Fear Nor Favor.
Where is man? Where is the cancer man? No runner come out for war.
Tune in to 90.3 on your FM dial. Log on to SugarCityFMSaintKitts.com or download Simple Radio app from the Google Play Store. And join Newri8sh Nital every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. as Newri8sh Nital tackles the issues and take your call. Fear Nor Favor every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. on Sugar City 90.3 FM. Fellow citizens, near and far, join Newri8sh Nital on Sugar City 90.3 for Fear Nor Favor.
Where is man? Where is the cancer man? No runner come out for war.
Tune in to 90.3 on your FM dial. Log on to SugarCityFMSaintKitts.com or download Simple Radio app from the Google Play Store. And join Newri8sh Nital every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. as Newri8sh Nital tackles the issues and take your call. Fear Nor Favor every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. on Sugar City 90.3 FM.
Welcome back to Fear Nor Favor. Now, I would like to commend the authorities with respect to the last set of persons who presumably encountered difficulties while traveling from the boarding area to some designated destination. My understanding that we had once again some foreigners who ended up in difficulties, the usual story, and was seeking help from our Coast Guard. But however, it is my understanding from reading that two of them were swimming towards land to essay to escape. Now, you see, we have to be careful because I warned the last time that this thing can become habitual. You had the services of lawyers or a lawyer who pushed cases on these people's behalf and appealed to the humanitarian aspect of our social being to lend a favorable hand to these people. Up to now, we have not been brought up to date totally. Maybe some persons might have, but I don't think the general public would have been brought up to date with the outcome of that particular situation. And I'm talking about the penultimate one prior to the one that happened recently. The pattern would continue. And we have to understand that we just cannot allow persons to fabricate whatever they're fabricating in order to become a part of our landmass. I understand that they were placed back on an aircraft after getting permission from the other governmental authority to have them sent back. And we are happy for that. We welcome foreigners. We also welcome visitors. You don't have to be coming here to stay. You can be coming just to pay a mere visit. If you like it, you could ask, apply for an extension, you get it. But to come here to be a permanent fixture in our landmass and not to come in the legal way, that would create some problems. Because some people are doing things from a calculated perspective. I understand that a child might have been a part of that composition, and everybody would have a soft spot for any child who was a part of an exercise like that. Very, very unfortunate, but it had to be done. Why is it every time you're trying to travel through our waters, something would happen for you to be rescued here? We cannot allow that. Obviously, there's some calculations involved in those movements. You might have some human trafficking, and we do not know precisely if that is the case, because the information would not be forthcoming easily. So one of the ways available to us is to simply put them back on an aircraft and let them know that they are being sent back to the place of origin with respect to that particular voyage. At least we would have gotten some degree of satisfaction within the populace that that is what happened. They have some who might not have appreciated that. Some people feel like Haiti Haiti and Haitians should be shown much more respect because there is a first being attached to their names, and they would have been disadvantaged for a very long time. But that would take a little bit more than think it's to galvanize some support and bring about improvements in situations in Haiti. But we all know what the situations are like. And it would take quite a bit of work to bring about even an iota of improvement. Those gang members, they are parading freely. The leaders are very brave. And I don't believe we have the resources in the Caribbean area to take care or to bring about any amelioration of the condition in Haiti. But I believe that we can work in a supplemental way to major military or law enforcement and contribute to the betterment of lives in Haiti. That is left to be seen, because this has been going on for a very, very long time. But it is my understanding that those Haitians were needed in Dominica to carry out a major project by the Chinese. And now that the project has been completed, Dominica trying to rid itself, allegedly rid itself of the Haitians, now that they would have been utilized in that major capital project. So I don't know if somebody is giving them money, tell them walk with this, walk with that, but just get out. Remember, the Chinese government is operating something like that. The work out China is overpopulated, and it would be best to load up some individual Chinese or group of Chinese with some money and ask them to set foot into the Caribbean region and try to invest as nicely as possible. And some other Chinese would come and join you. It's all about controlling the population in China. Talking about China, I am a bit confused that we would have entered into good association with Taiwan. And we are seeing a lot of businesses going down around here. And my understanding is that they are the businesses of Chinese from mainland China. I don't know what could be more confusing than that. our loyalty is supposed to be with Taiwan. Somehow, we have allowed Chinese from the mainland to come in and have free access. I don't know what kind of business licenses they have. Because if you take out business to sell bread, then why are you selling stuff that are totally different to bread? Do they have a kind of license where you just sell what you want? I don't know. But you go to a Chinese business and they're doing almost everything inside there. The only thing they're not selling vehicles, neither boat, plane, truck, car, anything. But when you have a local trying to make an effort, when you have a local trying to make an effort, they are policed to the extent that they have to maintain what they have that license to carry out. These Chinese seem to be getting away easily. Every single thing, clothing, bread, milk, butter, soft drinks, juices, everything you can think about. So I would like to know, what is the specific description of business that is placed on those business licenses? They need to be policed as well. They need to be policed. Because sometimes they are selling products that have instructions only in Chinese. And some of those products can be dangerous to the health of our citizens who patronize those businesses. The health department would need to pay some more attention to what they have to offer that persons would have to consume and have absolutely no instructions, no directions in English. But I went to a particular pharmacy and I asked for a product. And surprisingly, they showed me the product, but there was no instructions in English. And this is a popular pharmacy. How could they sell customers products for them to consume for whatever reason, but there is no instructions in English? I challenge them that it is unlawful. You must have instructions, directions for people written in the language that they can understand. Some products used to have leaflets, instructional leaflets, one in Spanish, one in English, or maybe even French and other languages. But now you're having one thing with no instructions in English. And when I asked where that product came from, and they indicated out of the UK. I said, out of the UK? And no English on it? No, that cannot be right. One time I actually demanded the instructions in English, and they did whatever they had to do. And they produced a leaflet with directions in English. But maybe too they felt as though they didn't know any Spanish. So let's just give him something. But it was genuine. the language translated nicely back and forth. So we have to be a little bit more careful. I don't know how we got caught up in these pharmaceuticals not being advising, not being in a position to advise people with the language, noise. You call it noise. Noise ain't just anything that make a sound. You give me a piece of paper and it's rampled up and I cannot make out the words. That's noise. Anything that interferes with communication is considered to be noise. And if you're going to have a language barrier, a language differential, and I cannot understand what you have on it, that is considered to be noise. I think the health department, they need to check up on some of those supermarkets that are selling things that are void of the necessary language instructions and see how we can work for our people. I think that you'll be doing the population a disservice if you sit back and allow those things to take place. It can be very dangerous. And at times when persons are not well, or when they think that they need some supplements, they become very desperate to get whatever you have. They don't even want to read any directions. And you have some persons, we got to face it too. We have some persons who just cannot read, but they go to pick up things. But at least even if you cannot read, you can take it to somebody who can read the instructions for you and help you out. You might have somebody who doesn't have the capacity to the visual faculty, and they might need somebody to read it for them. Yes, they can see well enough to enter the supermarket and everything else, but beyond that, they cannot read instructions properly. I think even those should be put in a certain size for people who might have challenges from a visual perspective to still be able to read. I think that the pharmacist could write out very clearly the directions before the person leaves the pharmacy. There are so many ways in which we can help our people, and we have to become more helpful and see that our people's lives are not endangered. Might not be right away, it could be 2 months, 3 months after. Well, we have reached the end of our session for tonight, and we are hoping that lots of things that are happening locally or involving locals can be normalized, renormalized to the satisfaction of the entire population. Thank you for joining me. And I'll respond to some messages that I have seen on my phone. But enjoy the rest of what is left of Thursday night. Thank you.
The opinions